There's nothing like league. And this is the Betfred Super League. No! Got me here. It took a big chunk out of me. Bleeding. It's bleeding. Oh no, it's bleeding. The thing just ripped my ear off. What do you think?
Well, hello again and welcome along to another edition of Eddie and Stevo, the podcast. Here again with the support of our friends at Betfred. Now then, it's been a couple of weeks since we were last with you. My fault this time. I'll hold my hands up because I've been away on my holidays. So we've plenty to talk about as always. Let's get stuck into it right away then. On-field matters first, Stevo, if we can. And there has been a Catalan takeover at the top of the table since we last spoke.
And fair play to them. And people have just got to get used to the fact that, they're a damn good side.
Well, they're 4 points clear at the top. It's a close run thing in Super League, though, Stevo, this year. Only 4 points are separating Lee in second place. Now, did you ever think we'd say that? The Lee Leopards second in Super League and Hull KR in seventh. Just 4 points between Lee and Hull.
I've got to be honest with you, Eddie. I thought that they'd get off to a good start. A little bit like the Queensland Dolphins. They got off to a good start. But have they got the depth at the Dolphins? A few injuries have come through, and now they've started to slide somewhat. Will that occur in the UK?
But at the moment, Lee seem to be dealing with all the adversity of any suspensions and any injuries. They seem to be dealing with it really, really well. Second in the table, Stevo, semi-final of the Cup. Incredible season they're having.
Well, it is. And fair play to the owner, Bowman. I mean, he made it quite clear that he's thrown a fair amount of his own cash into creating something. And they changed the name and everybody's sort of... I mean, the publicity, the PR stuff that he's done has been outstanding. I mean, you did an interview with him the other day, and I'm thinking, why can't all the other clubs have some guy like this?
Yes, he's an entrepreneur. There's no doubt about that. And if you look further down the table, Huddersfield. I mean, Huddersfield had a great season last year. What on earth has happened to them? Their last win on the 26th of May against Castleford at home. Since then, defeats to St Helens, Warrington, Leeds, 54-0, and Wigan. Now, Justin Holbrook, Stevo, he was sacked by the Gold Coast down there in Australia, wasn't he? And the following day, Huddersfield issued a "he's not coming here" notice after reports circulated that Ian Watson was under extreme pressure, which, to be fair, he must be. He must be right now, Ian.
You look at coaching and people just sort of read what these journalists throw out. And a lot of it is as close to rubbish as you'll get. But they've got a job to do. We had a job to do in the media. And we want to make it in speculation or whatever. We've had the same sort of situation here. Brad Fittler, right, is on the verge of being sacked as a manager of the New South Wales State of Origin side. He's made 7 changes. But the media agenda is to have him sacked. And not only that, I'll add to that, all the quotes that my old mate Tim Sheens has made about how it's all going in England, that it's too slow in the 3 quarters, etc. and so forth, and saying that clubs should merge, blah, 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 blah. Well, Tim's got his own problems here in Australia because his side, the West Tigers, lost to North Queensland 74-0.
Oh,
I'll repeat that, 74-0. Now, Tim Sheens is at present the coach. His understudy, Benji Marshall. It's all being said publicly that Benji Marshall will take over next season. But the press, the media here have got on the back of Tim Sheens. I think Tim's 72 years of age now. And they're saying he's past it, he's gone. This is a man that's won 3 premierships. He's won a World Cup with Australia. He's one of the greatest coaches that's ever been produced in Australia. But do the media care about that? No. And what makes me smile is that a lot of the journalists, they're around about 70 years of age. But results don't matter for these guys. And it looks like Tim Sheens is in a little bit of bother. And on top of that, Eddie, Canterbury, right? They brought this super coach who was the assistant coach at Penrith called Cameron Ciraldo, right? Canterbury 0, Newcastle 66. Didn't quite make the 74 that North Queensland got. Phil Gould, who was the manager at Penrith for a long time. And I remember Phil Gould many years ago saying, people have to be patient. It's going to take 5-6 years. Well, would you not believe it? I've read yesterday, Phil Gould, quote, it could take a long time to fix, maybe 5 or 6 years' time to get us back into the Premiership mood. Oh, you've got to love these people that hang on to the jobs. Fair play to them. Fair play, you know. But it's just a turnaround, isn't it?
Total.
I mean, poor old Tim Sheens, that asking all the media saying get rid of him. Brad Fittler, he's had to make 7 changes, and he has now come out. I don't know why he's come out against all the media. He said, it appears that they've got an agenda to have me sacked. Well, he's lost the first 2 and lost last year. Maybe Brad Fittler might just look at the results and say, maybe they have a sort of feeling to get rid of. Eddie, it doesn't matter how old the media are. It's there. You'll never get rid of it.
Well, you won't. The speculation will continue and continue on. The one thing that has amazed me today, talking to you, I thought that blowout scores just didn't happen in the NRL. There's a 66-point victory. You know, that I can't remember when that last happened. What's happening down there in Australia? If Tim Sheens is pointing the finger at the game in the Northern Hemisphere, what the hell's going on in the NRL, Stevo, with scores like that?
Well, that's what I've just said. It's that, poor old Tim, instead of talking about when he was here in the UK, hasn't he got any mirrors at his place? He's got to look at himself and say, right. And look, all the media, and they're saying, why does he think that we've got an agenda? I've been watching these programs, and they sit round the table, and one bloke says, well, it's 72. He's past it. Get rid of him. You know. The coach at Dolphins. Oh, well, he's older than Tim Sheens. Why don't we get rid of him?
That's Wayne Bennett. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just ludicrous. The thing is that the people down under, they lap it up. It's on every single day.
Well, this brings us nicely, Steve, onto a topic that we ought to discuss, because up here, I don't know whether you've noticed, but the social media and the press is alive with the news that DAZN, now this is a company that spells itself DAZN, DAZN, a streaming platform exclusively for sport. They were in negotiations for the English Football League contract that was recently awarded. But currently, they've got no UK rights. But they are seeing Super League as an ideal first base for them. And the word is that Sky, our former employers, are battling to keep hold of rugby league. Now, if DAZN come in, they are a worldwide streaming channel. We only see what is on Sky up here in terms of the NRL. If DAZN get involved with rugby league, it'll be a streaming service that is going to go throughout the country here, and you can watch whatever you like, when you like, on whichever device you like. Is this the way forward? Are we seeing a massive swing in the way that televised sport is happening worldwide?
Yes, because you've just mentioned worldwide. We can spread the wings. We can get to it. And it reminds me of in the early days, Eddie, when you and I we were there when Sky took over, and it was a situation where fans said and clubs said, well, no one will turn up at the games. The fans will we won't do this, we won't do that. There's a lot of talk about the fact that does the streaming, will it affect the crowds? Will it get to a point? Let's face it, you can virtually get, unless you've got, say, like St. Helens has to go to Hull, where it could take you 2.5 hours or whatever. But generally speaking, half an hour in a car. Will they want to use the petrol, cost of that? Will they want to purchase a ticket for a family of 4 or 5? And will they just order a pizza at home, sit back, pay what, 10, 15 pounds a month to watch this streaming? It's happening all over the world. And the bottom line is, will we lose Sky?
I'm informed that it might be organised and sorted by the end of the month. The advantages are that every game of every club, home and away, will be available. That would mean, of course, video referees at every match. And that surely is the right way to go, the video referee at each and every game, isn't it?
I agree with that. But also, if they are doing all those games, more commentators, more cameras, more outside broadcast vans. This is going to cost quite a lot of money. I know the amount that it's horrific, the amount of money that is paid for every single game to be televised down here in Australia. And we're talking mega bucks.
I think the difference with this, Stevo, is that it's a remote service. So it can be done from a central place, a little bit like the Bunker, who look at all the video referee calls in Australia. They'll have a central production unit. This is the way I see it anyway. Central production unit, and it'll all be done remotely via the internet. So there won't be wagons trailing up and down the country. There'll be a few people in cars going with their cameras, setting them up, pointing them at the game and going home. It will cost. There's no doubt about that. There is a cost involved, but it's not as massive as it used to be when you and I were there with all the trucks and all the staff and everybody else. It's a lot smaller operation than that, I think.
Look, I can see where they're coming and I see where they're going in as much because there's been so quiet about not a new TV deal. Now, our Super League, because they're being controlled by IMG, are they trying to negotiate and make it well known so that they can get more money, say, from another broadcast? It's all a matter of playing one against the other.
Well, the Super League has been testing the water for live streaming of games just recently. They've done 3 on their Our League app service, and apparently things have been relatively successful. No people were put off going to the games. You see, that's what I think is the big problem. Will fans still go to the games when the match is available live? Every match is available live on TV. I mean, the days are long gone, Steve, when the number of bums on seats meant that the clubs were rich and could pay the players' wages. They're long gone, those days. It's all about what comes in the other way, isn't it, with the broadcast money?
I understand that. But are they quite prepared to match or beat whatever Sky are offering? The thing is, we don't know. We've been left in the dark. Is it a ploy to maybe push Sky into a corner and say, well, you've got to pay us 40 million or 35 million or whatever? I mean, these type of tactics have been going on for quite some time.
Apparently, Premiership Rugby Union, they believe that it doesn't really affect you inside, say, a 30-mile radius. If you're a fan, you're still going to go and attend matches. Outside of that limit, I wonder, if supporters are offered a choice. I don't know. It's very interesting, and personally speaking, and I'm sure I speak for you as well. If Sky lost the rugby league, I would be heartbroken. I really would, because that's where we came from. That's why we're doing this now, because Sky gave us the chance and gave the game the chance to get on television and prove what it's really worth. It would really disappoint me if Sky lost it. It really would.
Well, we did a service, Eddie, but I'd like to be 56 instead of 76.
Yes.
And it's having that situation where you say, look, you can't stop it. Things have to go on. Who would have thought that we'd be able to throw what we call a satellite up into the sky and beam sporting programs, any programs, onto an electric box? Who would have thought that?
I know. Let's wait and see. Maybe sorted by the end of the month. Who knows? And then we'll see where we're going. I mean, the other thing is Channel 4. Channel 4, will they still have their 8 to 10 matches per season? Because that's being put out there as being, the saviour, the future of rugby league in this country. It's free to air on television. That would be like a lost leader. Lost leaders, what it's all about? Attracting people in to take the subscriptions. If they like what they see on the free to air, they'll buy a subscription for DAZN or Sky or BT or whoever's got whatever they've got, and that might be another absolutely crucial cog in the wheel, I think.
Well, you call it a cog in the wheel, but they pay nothing. I mean, I know you say that it's an advantage, but there's a lot of Yorkshire people and Lancaster people and Cumbrians. Hey, I'm not putting hand in pocket to watch that. It's difficult because you and I are at an age whereby what's all this about? Look, you and I are old. Yeah. We've got to accept that, and things have got to change. But the one thing that you and I know you would be upset if Sky do get given the flick, etc., and so forth, is that we did our best, and the people who are now working for Sky are doing their best.
Indeed.
And it was inevitable that you and I had to stand down because we were old. We were past it.
You speak for yourself. You speak for yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got to give credit to it. And if they do stream all these games, so you can see every single game of rugby league.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. But who's going to call it? What's the quality of the television cameras going to be? Is it going to be just like 2 cameras on up there on the gantry, or are we having cameras at every corner? It depends on whether you want quality. Buying a coat costs you a fortune if you went for a fur coat. But you can go to Woolies and get one like a tenth of that. It'll still keep you warm.
Woolies,
you can't
Woolies went out of business years ago.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, that just shows you, doesn't it?
Just shows you how old you are. You're absolutely right.
No. Well, the thing is, you've got to remember, we still have Woolworths in Australia.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course you do. Of course.
Well,
you do.
I'll accept that apology. Deep down, at the bottom of our hearts, we just love the game of rugby league. We want it to have as much money to make sure that the grounds can be wonderful, that we can have maybe sit down in a decent seat to watch the greatest game of all. That's what you and I wanted when we were actually working. I still want it, and I'm sure you still want it. Whoever takes over, Eddie, whether it be streaming or a new company or etc. and so forth, if it benefits the game of rugby league, then I'm all for it. But let's make sure that it benefits the rugby league, not just at the top level.
Well, I tell you what, if there's a streaming service on this weekend to show each and every game live, what a menu they have from the Super League. Warrington Saints on Friday. Massive match for both clubs. Warrington in particular, they're struggling at the moment. Injuries, suspensions, Australians have gone home, the pack's decimated. Warrington need a performance against the Saints, don't they?
They do, but I don't think they're capable. I think Saints will run riot.
Well, it's a big call. It's at Warrington.
I don't care where it's at. It could be at Timbuktu, as far as I'm concerned. And I would be extremely surprised if they beat St Helens.
Okay, next game, the Hull Derby. Who's going to win this one? Hull Kingston Rovers going through the horrors with injuries as well. Jordan Abdul out for the season. Mikey Lewis gets sin-binned at the weekend just gone, and while he's off the field, they ship in 3 tries. The game is gone. So, Hull will be hell-bent on a bit of revenge for that Good Friday hammering they got, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think this is a toss of the coin job because of the injuries, etc., and so forth. And as you say, look, we know the fans of the people from Hull. They love their rugby league, and they don't like short change. And I'm afraid the Black and Whites got shortchanged in the earlier game. It will be blood and guts, and if you have the chance, it'll be a game to go and watch. It'll be a cracker.
It should be. It always is, the local derby in Hull. And while all that's taking place, across the channel in Perpignan, Huddersfield are in town. They are, as I said earlier on, they're going through the horrors. Huddersfield. They're not far short of Castleford and Wakefield. Wakefield home to Wigan, as I say. Castleford home to Lee. I mean, and by the way, Castleford and Wakefield are meeting in a crunch match in the Super League in a few weeks' time. So the heat is on at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, it is. Well, the one good thing about it is flying to the south of France. The pate down there, I mean, it's just outrageous. The foie gras, it's the best I've ever tasted, way down in Perpignan, south of France. So that's something that the fans can look forward to.
The fans can. What about the players? Can the players cope with going to Catalan?
Listen,
they're
don't
not going
have
to be on the foie gras
before you play, that's for sure. Yeah, but the thing is that there won't be many fans taking that trip down there because they're pretty horrified by the fact that they're going to get their bottom smacked big time. And I think they will. They're at the top of the table, Catalan.
Huddersfield might have other ideas, Stevo. Ian Watson, he's maintaining some level of intensity and enthusiasm. He needs a win. And what a place to go and win.
Well, it would do it. It not only do the club a good favour, it would probably do him a good favour. He's had to battle through with injuries, as a lot of clubs have got exactly the same. I just can't see Huddersfield matching them in the south of France.
Well, they might get dragged into this dreadful relegation situation, mightn't they? And I think it's definitely going to be the last one now, the last season where you go down on the exactly where you finish in the league ladder. So it looks as though it's between the three of them from West Yorkshire: Huddersfield, Castleford, or Wakefield. And if Wakefield beat Lee, that'll put the cat amongst the pigeons.
Will it ever? I mean, look, if Wakefield escape from being relegated, then I'm going to have to just give myself an uppercut because I halfway through the season, in fact, a quarter way through the season, I said, I'm sorry, but Wakefield will go.
Okay, yes.
But fair play to them. They've come back and they're giving it their best shot. Because it's not just about relegation, Eddie. It's about bye-bye. Because IMG don't want relegation and promotion. So whoever gets the chop, that's it. They're fighting for a lower division. And unless they get plenty of money, crowds increase, get better players, then they'll have to then approach Super League. We think that we are now strong enough to come into the Major League.
One or two things you've said this week already. you keep going on about you and me being too old for anything, but also you've just said you'll have to give yourself an uppercut if Wakefield survive. Can I just say to all the Wakefield fans, form an orderly queue, and we'll get you somewhere in Wakefield if it happens. Is that okay?
Well, I tell you what, if that's for a charity, I can remember many years ago we did something similar for a charity where they put me in the stock. Can you remember that?
I can. Yes.
And we allowed the Wigan fans to come along and throw what was supposedly bags of rice. Well, there were a few coins thrown in with the bags of rice, I can assure you. But listen, if it's for a charity, come along. Put your boxing gloves on. I'll be there.
I don't think people would put gloves on, Steve. It would be the bare knuckle stuff.
Surely they wouldn't hit a pensioner.
No, they shouldn't do. You're absolutely right. Look, it's that time of year again when players are on the move. Jordan Abdul is out for the season with a nasty injury. Hull Kingston Rovers have moved. They're on the verge, apparently, of signing Brad Schneider from Canberra on loan for the remainder of the season. He's a pretty good goal kicker, this fella, isn't he, as well, and a good halfback.
Yeah, it's he's a bit of a character over, and I mean, there's quite a few players over here who are getting to be, shall we say, over the hill. And how many times have we done it in the UK? We bring a lot of over the hill, or maybe under the hill, over to what they call retirement fund. We've done it for years. But if it works and it gets them into a higher position or even to a final, then fair play to them. You know, it's. But when you keep having to dip into Australian market, it once again looks to me, and I'm thinking, why do they have to do that? Why can't we produce our own? And we're not doing enough at the lower grades.
And here's another one for you. Reports have linked Leeds Rhinos with Tyrone Roberts, the veteran halfback who was with Warrington not long ago. He's now playing for the Burleigh Bears in Queensland. Rowan Smith and Roberts go back a long way, apparently. And it seems that Aidan Caesar is on his way out at Headingley, on his way home. And all the talk about Blake Austin's contract, that's up in the air as well. So
why can't we put a young kid through? They talk about great coaches, and we've got some wonderful coaches both here and in the UK. I just want to see young kids being given the opportunity.
Yeah, but it's a results-driven industry, Stevo. And you put about 4 young kids in, and you go down the pan, and you're struggling. And who goes? Not the young kids, not the old Australians, not the veteran Englishmen. The coach and his staff, they're the ones who get the flick. They won't take the risk. They won't take the risk.
No, I realise that. But you've got to start thinking to yourself, I mean, look, if that occurred in horse racing, right, all the great thoroughbreds, what are they doing? They've been mixing and matching so that they create that thoroughbred situation. So when you've got the great horses that have won the Derby and won this and other, they're already creating the youngsters, the young horses coming through. The people that are training all these, they make their money out of just saying, well, you know, he's a champion, and let's have about 4 or 5 or maybe 10 future champions. And if they get 1 out of 10, it's not bad going. But we don't have that amount of players playing our game of rugby league. We're losing players.
But we send all our good youngsters at the moment to Australia, and some make it, some don't. Some come back with their tails between their legs. Now, Luke Thompson might be coming home, not because he's been a failure, but he's had a nightmare with the Bulldogs, hasn't he, since he arrived there, with injuries and that sort of business. But he's out of contract. He wants to stay in the NRL, but he's high on the Super League list of possible signings, including Wigan. And they've already spent big this year, at this stage of the year. They've got Cruz Leeming coming back for next
I know.
season, back to Super League. They've just signed Sam Walters, who's an outstanding youngster from the Leeds Rhinos. Wigan are leading the field in terms of buying some new faces for 2024.
They're doing the right thing, or are they? Where's the money coming from? They get good crowds, so maybe that's an advantage. But as I say, it's the pool that you can pick for. If you're a fisher and you got your rod out and it says a big sign there, no, not good fish in this pond. Well, it's pointless just throwing the bait in, isn't it?
I tell you what, you make some fantastic analogies each and every week. We've had horses. We've had horses being compared, Derby winners being compared to, and now we're getting fish. We've got fish on the menu now. Just let's come down to earth before we go for this week, because some sad news while we've been off the air. Good old Beverisman, OBE, he sadly passed away since we last spoke, aged 85. What a great guy, first of all. Lee, then Leeds, legendary status, former Great Britain World Cup captain, dedicated to the game, wasn't he? Absolutely dedicated. And the development officer, the first one in the south of England, and a member of the Hall of Fame in 2018. A lovely, lovely man, and so sad that he's gone.
Yes, rest in peace. I became very, very close to that man. A very strong friend for many, many years. Often I would go up to Cumbria and play the odd game of golf with him. He was a marvellous, marvellous player. And talking of sad news, a guy who I grew up with in the suburb of Saviltown in Dewsbury, Tony Harmshaw, a great player for Halifax, played for Great Britain against New Zealand in 1972, I think it was, or 71. Wonderful, wonderful bloke. Great player, Halifax legend.
A bit of a sad end to the programme this week, but I go back to the fish and the horses and the uppercuts. They're the things I remember from this week's programme. We'll talk again in a week's time.
Hang on before you go. Are you accusing me of talking rubbish?
Not at all. Not at all.
Bye.
You've done it for 37 years. Ta-ta.